seeing the possibility to have an intimate experience with what is being felt in one moment right now, and to let that be a gateway into the deeper meaning of all these spiritual words. Awakening, freedom,
Enlightenment,
self discovery,
love,
peace,
surrender,
the power of now,
oh, duality.
presence.
Yes, I feel so present hearing you say that.
Do we have more? There's more. Let's keep going a bit longer. Or, sorry, go ahead.
It's endless. It's just so many.
Words for concepts that point to a kind of spiritual awareness.
Yeah, and we're poking fun at it, but there's nothing wrong with it. There was a time when I started going down a spiritual path and I was filled with all these concepts. I actually distinctly remember a point where I thought I was going to be enlightened, and this experience of life where like I hate myself and I have the worst social anxiety and I just my self-image was so bad. I remember thinking, I'm going to be like the life of the party. Everyone's going to love me. I'm going to feel so good. I'm going to be so enlightened. That was how I thought there would be an endpoint, basically, that everything was just exactly as I wanted it to be once I was finally enlightened. I don't know if you have a version of that.
I would say I have a suitcase full of spiritual concepts and a really rich vocabulary to describe these concepts. And I also have memories of times where the concepts felt meaningful and real. Peace is a word that really still does have a huge meaning for me. In fact, all these words do. Um, and I also have memories of times where I was reaching for something by using the word peace, and the word alone wasn't helping me make contact with that thing or with that state or with that experience. Even the words, opening, expansiveness, true self. We're laughing as we use these words because we both have experiences of using the words in empty, meaningless ways. And I certainly also have experiences of using the words to describe a really alive experience where that felt like the appropriate word, if there could be a word for it.
Yeah, I'm realizing as you talk that the word itself can be useful. It just depends how I relate to it. That's what I'm realizing. So before, when it was all conceptual, you would say awakening or enlightenment, and I would bring my attention into my head and have an idea of what that would be like. Maybe I'd see pictures, or maybe I would imagine myself feeling something, but it was all in my head. But now, if you use those words, I have this direct experience that's really much more open. It's beyond my mind. It's almost like a touchstone for just being natural and being open, feeling alive, feeling surrendered to life as it is without being involved in any specific way, trying to get something or do something.
Yeah, I feel like what we are bringing forward here is we're shining a light on how words can be a distraction when they are living in the world of concept. When a word represents a mental concept or a rigid idea or a sense of how things should be, could be, might be, then that is a very different experience compared to feeling in touch with something and having a word that describes it. And seeing that, there's a possibility to be aware of how it can be like a trap, to lean on words, to lean on any concept at all of what it means to be spiritual, what it feels like to notice love, what the experience of peace is. Anytime that these words represent a concept, that's actually taking us further away from what the words themselves point to.
It can be a trap. That's right. Again, what I'm just realizing for myself is this egoic trap. The way that I can tell is because there's a me and there's that word or concept. I'm somehow involved with it. I'm feeling peace, or I know what peace is, or I'm at peace,
Mm.
rather than just peace itself, which is much, much different.
Yeah, and let's also add into the mix, I don't have peace is a common one. I need to get peace. These are all ways that peace becomes, or all ways that we can catch ourselves regarding peace as a concept rather than something else.
That's right. So it relates directly to what we've spoken about before with inflation and deflation. Those are the two sides that I just heard you speak. But both are detached from peace. It can be tricky. There are moments where I've felt so at peace, but there just was this little bit of me riding along with it, talking to myself about it, and it felt good. Inflation can feel good, as we've spoken about. And that's much different than the actual experience of peace or of love, where it's quiet and open.
Yeah, the experience of what we call peace is more spontaneous. There's something organic about it and something that's different every time. For me, the signal, a very, very clear signal, if I am in the land of concept, is that this, whatever the word is, and there are so many beautiful words, space, freedom, being in the flow state, so many words. And when I am using these words as concept, they become rigid and defined, and they have boundaries around them that are, you know, in my experience, they have a space and a time of like when I knew what that meant and how it felt then. So earlier we were chatting about how I remember one time speaking with Eli many years ago when I first met him. And during the conversation, I had an experience that I described as evaporating, which was a transcending experience in that moment. It was very beautiful. And then after exiting that conversation, that word evaporating had one very narrow meaning that I was making reference to, that I was trying to get back to again and again and again, and that I really truly could never get back to. And then it became a source of trying to remember what I did and putting a lot of effort into doing the right thing to evaporate again and to learn about like what that really meant and what did I need to learn that I didn't learn yet. It's funny. And since then, I have had many experiences that could also be described as evaporating, but I didn't get to them by making reference to the word and by trying to find it directly again. I made contact with that state instead through dropping out of my mind into my body, into awareness of what was happening internally in any one moment, awareness of how I was applying unnecessary effort, moving internally, and just being curious to check out, well, what if I stop that internal movement? And even that word stopping can become a concept, can become like a rigid instruction. But in seeing the rigidness, there is an opening. It's like seeing the possibility to have an intimate experience with what is being felt in one moment right now. And to let that be a gateway into the deeper meaning of all these spiritual words.
Yeah, it has to be spontaneous, unexpected. And you can't will it into existence. You can't make it happen. You can't control it. There are no steps. And so I remember very early on, something like that would frustrate me. It's like, okay, so I can't do it. I can't make it happen. I can't think my way there.
Well, then how do I get there?
Yeah, then how do I get there? And it can bring upon frustration. And it's great. There's nothing wrong with having that experience. There's nothing wrong with being conceptual. If your intention is really true and you really want freedom or peace or love more than anything else, that takes care of all this other stuff itself. Just sheerly through grace and pure mystery, eventually there's a surrender that happens. And you can turn that into a trap too by making it this passive thing of like, okay, there's nothing I can do, so I'll just go on being how I can. But
Well, I guess I'll always be blah, blah, blah.
yeah, yep. It's just really about noticing how tricky the ego is and all the different strategies, myriad of different strategies that try to do it, make it happen, control it through what has been learned or experienced in the past, projecting that into the future.
Just the gift of being able to see that and to catch oneself in, oh, oops, I'm in my head thinking about what I think this means to be awake. Just to catch that is itself grace. There's an inherent detachment from concept when we notice that we are in concept.
Gongji and Eli call it telling the truth. That is the gateway.
It's one gateway. There are many.
Yeah, because the truth can be reflected in so many different ways, in so many different settings. I was saying to you earlier, sometimes I can be on a walk and see a tree and have this moment of like stopping and recognizing the pure presence and aliveness and quietness and emptiness of life as it is. And it stops me right in my tracks.
Yeah, I feel reflection is an important word because it reveals that whatever we notice, whether it's a word or something we see, or even a spiritual teacher who seems to be outside of ourselves, who is outside of ourselves, It's when that it's when we see that as a reflection that points attention back intimately to ourselves. That's that's when it spontaneously offers insight that can open into a wider experience or a deeper meaning.
Yes, so I guess it's really just about being willing because the reflections are everywhere. So being willing to examine, being willing to see, being willing to open.
Curiosity is a word that helps me personally because I tend to have a lot of effort around being willing and yet being curious. There's a sense of something unknown in that, something not yet seen, at least not in this moment. And it reminds me that I experience freedom and peace differently from moment to moment. And even if I would use the same words to describe space, peace, openness, they're not exactly the same every time.
Most definitely, that's my experience too. Another thing that I would say has been true for me, and I wonder if you can relate to it or not, is just coming back to this word willingness, because I could see what you're saying about how that could be turned into a doing or create some effort around it. But when I first started to learn about my egoic structure and my patterns, there was kind of an unwillingness, let's just say resistance to opening, saying yes to what's coming up, feeling it inside myself without moving or thinking about it or trying to get away from it. But I feel like as time has gone on, I softened more. Naturally, I was more willing, more curious, as you said, more open. And at a certain point, it just became easier. So that if something is reflected to me now that in the past might have been painful and I might have tried to get away from, resisted in some way, now I can just be like, yeah, yes, okay, yes, I'm afraid. Yes, there's self hatred. Yes, I'm resisting. Quite simply, it's just easier. And I'm more in touch with an experience, a real direct experience of love, of peace. So I don't know if that's the same for you.
Good question. The answer is yes, but in my case, I feel I benefited from experimentation, first noticing the physical experience of defending. You use the word resisting. For me, it's defensiveness. I really want to not look at that and get mad about it. Noticing the physical experience of defending and experimenting with, well, what if I just for a moment put that down? If I just apply a little less effort on that. And through experimenting, I discovered the wide benefit of putting down ego, of investing less in ego, and being curious about, well, what's here if I'm not working real hard on my ego? It feels important to mention and name our teachers in this as well. Yes, there's spontaneity, and we've had excellent teachers and mentorship from people who really took us by the hand and led by their experience into this possibility. So let's name, our teachers: Lisa Schumacher, Jared Franks, Eli Jackson Bear, Gangaji, and the many mentors in the Leela School of Awakening who really, really took us by the hand and showed us this possibility and inspired us to share it with you, our listeners.
And in my case, had infinite patience with me as I resisted and struggled
Same.
the whole way.
And misstepped and made things into concepts and tried things that didn't work.
Yeah, definitely. What you said that really stuck with me just now was investing in ego. That's a good way to put it. Because my version's a little different than yours. It's not about defending. It's more like I would be reflected something, and then I would take that, put it in my mind, and figure out what it means and what to do and how to deal with it. And so it's really a more mental version of what you said, but still the same thing. And so the difference now is someone can reflect something to me and I can receive it openly.
And I can feel the difference as you're talking about it. There's a clear difference. One, I notice like a tensing up, a certain closing internally, and the other is open-handed, restful, unknowing, free.
Let's invite the listeners. One of the things that is a core piece of the Leela school that we've spoken about before is being a true friend. So if this is your first time hearing that, what it means simply is to have a quiet mind, an open heart, and to not take anything personally. And you don't have to know what that means. You don't have to know how to do it. You can just fully relax. But the invitation is to really hear these words. Because as Maeve speaks, I'm so present with what she's saying. There's nothing going on in my mind. I'm not interpreting it. I'm not trying to relate it to my experience. I'm not pointing to past things that happened to me that are the same. I'm not trying to understand what she's saying. I'm really so relaxed and open and letting the words come without having anywhere to land. So if you just take a moment to let yourself fully relax, fully be as you are, without doing anything at all.
And without doing anything internally, no technique needed, no skill, just experiment.
So part of what that means is not knowing. What if you were to hear these words as if it was the first time you ever heard any words?
And what if you were to feel any sensation in your body without knowing the meaning of that sensation right now? Where it comes from, where it's going, what's wrong? If you just don't know, there's no mental thought.
And to really just take a moment to notice what it's like to have this quiet mind, not knowing anything, this open heart, letting any sensations flow through just as they are, and have it be totally impersonal. Means nothing about you, means nothing about anything.
It means we don't even know through what this is flowing. Just just in this moment, only now, not later, not last time, right now.
It's a beautiful summary of what we were talking about because you can hear true friend and know what that means. Oh, yeah, you be quiet, you don't have any thoughts, open, nothing's about you. Or you could really take it on and be a true friend. And for me, that feels so blissful.
This is what is possible when you catch yourself noticing a concept and you become curious about being without concept. And it's available to everyone if that's what you want.
And we encourage you to experiment. What if just for today, in any one of your relationships, this could be with your partner, your parent, your child,
Yourself.
you just be a true friend, just for today. You see the effects of that.
And then you can find out how it is to be sincerely quiet in any one moment.
How it is to be beyond concept.
Yes.
Thank you, Maeve.
Thank you, Jonas, and thank you so much for your sincere listening, everyone.
See you next time.